All right, we are live. So we're just waiting for a few minutes while everyone logs on, and we'll start right at 11. Holly, you have your pink blazer. I have my red blazer. We look like a couple of Valentines.
I had to bring out the pink today.
Yeah.
I feel like it's fitting for anything that's related to moms and
Mhm.
females.
Totally. I agree.
Okay, Elise, let me know when we are ready. It's
I
1
think
o'clock on
we're
my end, but if you want to wait just a second, so
I think
whatever.
we're ready. Let's dive right in.
Okay, so we just want to take a moment and just thank you all for joining us to another session of Let's Talk Money, Honey. And today we are going to be focusing on specifically moms and investing in our children. And again, this isn't, I want to say specifically for moms, dads, grandparents, whoever's interested in the children's future and what we can do to help set them up financially in the future.
Totally.
So, Elise, it looks like everyone has logged in. Let's get this started. I do want to mention to be sure and grab pen and paper and take plenty of notes. If you have any questions during this presentation, feel free to write them down. We are not allowed, due to compliance reasons, to have a chatted Q&A. So you are going to need to email us directly or be sure and DM us on social media, which we will be providing you with all that contact information at the end of this presentation.
Awesome. All right, Holly, let's dive right in. So this is our third session of Let's Talk Money, Honey. This is a webinar series Holly and I started this year, and so far we've been doing a webinar session every quarter. And we just we pick topics that we feel are important to women investors, but also topics that are important to us. So this session, we really wanted to focus on moms. So because we know how important your children are to you, and that's why we wanted to share the information from today's session that really will help you give your child everything they need to succeed in their own lives. Our intention, as always, with this webinar series is to help women become more active in the world of investing and be that resource for anyone, not just women, for anyone looking to learn more. So let's dive in. Alrighty, so if you guys are new to this webinar series and you haven't met us yet, I am Elise Levy and I'm based in Reno, Nevada. I learned after spending many years working in the field of marketing that I wanted a job where I was helping people and making a real difference in their lives. So now I get the pleasure of working with my dad and partner, Mark Levy, at Legacy Wealth Planning, where I am inspired by our clients every day. I love getting the chance to help them reach their retirement goals and dreams and getting to know them along the way.
I'm Holly Henry. I'm from Hatfield, Arkansas, which is where my office currently is. Not only am I a financial advisor, but I'm also a small business owner of a couple of different businesses. Most of the people actually know me as being the mother of my kids, Ryan and Ace. So this topic is especially near and dear to my heart. But as a financial advisor, I work at River Valley Wealth Management. We have offices in Paris and in Hatfield. Not only do I love my job, but because it's challenging, but most importantly, it's because I'm able to financially help people and empower those that are around me.
Awesome. Thanks, Holly.
So we are going to immediately jump in and talk about different investment vehicles. And one of the first things that we're going to talk about is how to save for education, since this is such a big topic. And it's one that I feel like encompasses so many of our conversations that we have when children are involved. And so, Elise, if you want to take it, move the slide, we'll move on from here.
All righty. So it's never too early to start thinking about your child's future. And I'm sure you're already doing that. So whether your child is 3 or 13, you're asking yourself questions like, what will my son be when he grows up? Where will my daughter go to school? Will they be the first person in your family to attend college? These are all questions that you're already asking yourself. And so thinking about the cost that is involved in a child's education, we know can be overwhelming. But the earlier you start saving and the earlier you start thinking about these kinds of things, the longer your money can work for you. So that's really what we're going to talk about today moving forward.
So today, college isn't just a dream. It's practically a requirement. Higher education includes four-year college, community college, and vocational training, such as cosmetology, nursing, and electrician. So we just wanted you to take a look at these statistics. So individuals with a bachelor's degree have 2 times annual wage of high school graduates. And individuals with a bachelor's degree have a lower unemployment rate. So even though we're quoting statistics that say bachelor's degree, we're also, again, I want to just emphasize, we're talking about any type of higher education. So as we're talking about the 529 plans, it encompasses more than just going to a 4-year university. Again, as I mentioned before, it is 4-year, it's community college, it's vocational training. And so please keep this in mind as we go through these programs.
Totally. And that's a great point, Holly. When we talk about higher education, we want people to think more broadly than that traditional definition people have.
So when we also talk about education, the one thing that we have to emphasize is that cost is just constantly going up. And while we do hope that your child has scholarships and grants, we do want to also plan for worst case scenario in this. And even with my kids being 10 and 6, they both already have to have educational savings accounts set back for them. So unfortunately, this great earning potential, what we went through with the statistics a second ago, it does come with this increasing price tag. So a college education for your child, even though it's still attainable, it doesn't mean it's automatic. The good news is that there are strategies that can help make it happen. Today, education saving vehicles are plentiful and diverse with a broad range that includes tax benefits and consequences, financial aid implications, contribution limits, and asset flexibility. So if we look here at the slide, 4 years of private college cost over $100,000. Tuition and fees rise 7% annually. So if we look at this now, if you're looking in 2035, 4 years of private college could top $417,000 and $212,000 for a public school. So please keep those in mind as we go through this.
I just have to say those numbers blow my mind when I really read them and think about them, and especially just the rising tuition costs, 7% annually. That's a huge number. And so if you think about just saving cash and not investing, you're never going to keep up. And with inflation and all these things, it's just like there's no way that just cash alone is going to help you pay for your child's education. It's really powerful.
No, and I think we also need to go back and emphasize it's so critical for parents to start while these kids are young, while they're young. Because if you're looking at how to pay for college when they're 16, 17, 18, and you're now figuring out how do I come up, maybe not even 100,000, even 10,000,
becomes a lot harder.
It does. So if you start making even just partial payments to these educational saving vehicles, it makes it a lot more attainable than what it does when these kids are older.
Yeah, totally. Okay, so let's go into what these accounts actually are. So the most common educational account, and this is the one you probably have heard of, is a 529 plan. So before we even jump into the 529 plan, I really want to make this point very clear. Holly and I do not get paid on 529 plans. The only part that you'll pay for is the product you're invested in. So if it's an ETF or a mutual fund, those products have internal fees. But as financial advisors, we don't charge as on 529 plans because they're educational accounts for your kids. And the point is not to make money, it's to provide this resource for you guys. So just as we go through this, I want you to know this is not a money-making scheme. And I think that's a good thing to keep in mind. All right. So like I said, 529 plans, these are the kind of creme de la creme of an educational plan that you can use. There are no contribution limits. There are lifetime limits, but as far as a yearly contribution limit, there is no limit. Why that can be positive is, say you're contributing, but maybe also you have grandparents in the picture that are contributing. You have aunts and uncles who, instead of giving a physical gift, want to give money into this 529 plan. That's really helpful. So not having that contribution limit really comes in handy. Another great thing about 529 plans is you can switch beneficiaries. So let's say instead of creating an individual account for each of your kids, you create one for your eldest with the intention to use it for both kids. And then once your eldest graduates college, you can just switch the beneficiary over to your other child. So that way the money's not getting wasted. What else? It has tax deferred growth. So unlike a brokerage account that you would open for your child, all the growth grows tax deferred, which is very advantageous for your child and for the money inside the account to grow. There's no income limits. Why this is important is when we'll switch to the next type of account that has income limits. So this one doesn't matter how much you can make, how much you're making, how much you're taking home, you can have a 529 plan for your child. And it also won't disqualify your child from financial aid, which I think is very important in this day and age because most kids applying to college are also applying for financial aid. And again, once again, we don't charge any fee to open this account. The only fees you'll pay are on the investment products you choose.
And I do want to add, before we go to the next slide, that something that is coming down the pipeline with the Secure Act 2.0, which I think is going to make the 529s even that much more popular, is beginning in 2024, and this is all brand new, so there's still a lot coming down with this, but beneficiaries of 529 plans may transfer any unused funds directly to a Roth IRA without penalties or recognition of taxable income. So, for example, parent, if you set up this plan and your child gets scholarship money or ends up not needing it, you can end up putting this into a retirement account for them to use later on. So it's not as if you just lose all the funds. And again, this is assuming that you don't have another child that you want to pass it on to. So I do feel like that there's quite a more flexibility that is coming down for 529s. And to me, this is a big perk that we'll be able to access in the next few years.
Yeah, I think it's so smart that they're doing that. And like, it makes me excited to offer more 529s to people with that being what can happen to it later down the road.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All righty. So the second type of educational account we're going to cover today is a Coverdell educational account. And I'm going to just go through how it's different from a 529 plan. So the biggest difference in this account is that all funds from the account have to be removed from the beneficiary by age 30. That doesn't exist with a 529. Like I said, a 529 has no annual limit. Coverdell does have a $2,000 a year contribution limit, so you can't put in more than that every year. Also, couples making more than $220,000 a year cannot contribute to this kind of account. So it does have that income limit, unlike the previous 529 plan we went over. But it's very open to what it can be invested in, where 529 plans are pretty limited to what company you're using and the products they're offering. So a Coverdell account works much more like a brokerage account where you can pick any product under the sun and invest in it. Where these are most common, we see them mostly for primary and secondary private education. So if you have plans that your child is going to be in private school all the way through, this might be a good solution for you to consider. And it's just, each situation is unique, which is why it's always important to meet with Holly or I, a financial advisor, because we can tell you which one's going to be more appropriate for you. Holly, anything you want to add into educational accounts before we kind of switch topics?
No, and I just want to reiterate what you've already said. We don't get paid for these educational accounts. We're there just as your cheerleaders and to help again, decide which type of account is good for you. And also it helps even with financial planning. So definitely reach out to a financial advisor when you're going through this. Elise and I would be more than happy to help you walk through this.
Definitely, because it is complicated, and I think it's really easy to generalize, and the internet generalizes, but you're unique, your family situation's unique, so it's important to get an expert's opinion.
Absolutely.
All right, so that was kind of the education umbrella, and now we're going to go to the other umbrella, which is all other ways we can start saving for our kids. And some are pretty creative. So let's dive right into it.
So one of the first things that we're going to talk about for kids is Roth IRAs. And this is actually one of my favorite topics when you're talking about young kids, because again, if you can set these accounts up while they're young, you can really see how compound interest works. And we love figuring out financial plans that if you're contributing X amount a year, what does it look like when your children will reach retirement? And honestly, we're going to go over an example here in a little bit, and the numbers, it blows my mind to see how the compound interest works. So when does a Roth IRA, when will it work for your child? One, if you're a small business owner, then you can put your child on payroll, and any earned ages can be put towards a Roth IRA. However, if you have a child that's old enough that is working a summer job, babysitting, mowing yards, whatever this may entail, they can also set up a Roth IRA. The main thing is they have to have earned wages, and it has to be reported on a taxed income. So to open up a Roth IRA, your child, as I mentioned, earned income. This needs to be from job or self-employment. This income should be reported on the tax return, as I mentioned before. For 2023, the maximum annual contribution to a Roth IRA is $6,000. This is subject to inflation. This means your child can contribute up to their earned income amount or to the annual contribution amount, whichever is. So contributions cannot exceed their earned income, meaning if your daughter babysitted and she only earned $3,000, that's the max that she can contribute. She cannot contribute up to the full $6,000. So the primary advantage of a Roth IRA is that the contributions are made with after-tax money, meaning the money has already been taxed. However, the growth and withdrawals in retirement are typically tax-free, assuming the account has been held for at least 5 years and the individual is at least 59 and a half years old. So while a Roth IRAs are designed for retirement savings, the contributions, not the earnings, can be withdrawn penalty-free before retirement if needed. However, it's generally advisable to leave the funds in untouched to fully benefit from the tax-free growth. So let me summarize this. If your child who's in a small tax bracket is not going to be paying a lot on taxes, now is the time for them to put this in retirement and after-tax money. This is where it's going to really benefit them. They're not going to be paying a lot of taxes on this money in the first place. And so then if it's put into this Roth IRA and the interest is compounding yearly, by the time that they're pulling the money out, and let's even say 60, 65 years old, that money is then tax-free to them. In the meantime, if anything that they put into these accounts that they may need later on in life, a house, braces for their kids, whatever reason, again, that principal amount can be pulled out and they're not penalized for it. The earnings cannot be. Elise, did I miss anything?
No, you did a great job. I'm just going to add a few things in that I want to talk about as well. Like Holly said, you can pull out money, and I just wanted to add in, there is a exemption. So if you are pulling out money as a first-time home buyer, there's no penalty. And so you can take out earnings for that purpose. So I just like to throw that in because a lot of these Roth IRAs we're making for kids who are starting their summer jobs and stuff, that money might be used for their first-time home buyer purchase later on down the road. The other thing with the Roth IRA, why it's good to start really young, is because there are income limits on Roth IRAs. So right now, and just like the contribution limits, these go up every year usually. But right now, if you make over $153,000 a year, you can no longer contribute to a Roth IRA. So that's why it's really good to start young and contribute to that account while you can, because if your child ends up being successful, and have a high paying job, they won't always be able to contribute to the same account. So taking advantage of it while they can is awesome.
Absolutely.
All righty. So we're going to hop into a little Roth IRA example just so we can really hit this point home. So Holly has a daughter that is 10. She is going to contribute $1,000 a year to her daughter's Roth IRA account. Once she becomes an adult, her daughter is continuing to contribute that $1,000 a year. After 50 years, $50,000 has been contributed to the Roth IRA. Assuming a 10% average annual return compounded annually, the value of the account when her daughter is 60 would be $1,163,909. So that, what?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, what were you gonna say?
No, I was going to say, I really do have a daughter that's 10 years old. And my idea in this was actually an example that Elise and I created for my daughter, Ryan. And as a small business owner, my daughter is going to be hired this year to actually come work for me. And she is going to end up doing some filing or short-term cabin rental. So she may do some cleaning, whatever it is. And that money will be used to be put in a Roth IRA. And also, I have decided that I'm not going to end up buying as much Christmas gifts, and some of their stuff will end up having to go to their investment accounts because they didn't play with their toys after 2 days. So I feel like it's a great way to cut and put towards these investments.
No, I think it really is. And there's so many instances where this is great. And I just had a child of one of my clients come in the other day, and she's 16, and I don't think you guys have In-N-Out Burger, but it's really big here, Holly. And she just started working there, and she's going to start doing the same thing and
Yes,
contributing her paycheck to a Roth IRA. And I just think
that's great.
Yeah.
And I don't think kids are going to come up with this idea. It's going to have to stem from the parents.
Yeah.
And maybe if you sit down with your child and say, even if you're putting $500, $600 back a year, chances are most kids, if they're having summer jobs, it's being spent on phones, clothes, whatever. It's time now to teach them how to start saving for retirement. Like start teaching them the habits that they need to now.
Yeah. And I think too, it's also, you've learned as an adult how hard it is to save for retirement.
Yes.
And I'm kicking myself as a financial advisor for not starting to save earlier when I definitely could have. So I think, passing that on to the next generation is so important.
Absolutely.
All right. As you can see, Holly and I can just talk forever. But it's because we're very passionate about what we do. All right, so I quickly want to cover UTMAs and UGMAs. So that's UTMA and UGMA. These are, one is the Uniform Transfers to Minor Act, and one is the Uniform Gifts to Minors Act. And they're both ways to hold and manage assets for the benefit of a minor. These are usually set up by a parent, guardian, or grandparent. So these have a lot of rules and regulations that are very specific to the state you're in. So obviously I'm in Nevada, Holly's in Arkansas, I work with California a lot, but each state really is unique. So again, talking to a financial advisor, making sure you know all the rules for these accounts is really important because it becomes the minor's assets when they turn 18. Some states is 23, it varies a lot. So just knowing your goals for the account and for the beneficiary and talking to a financial advisor is always advised. The biggest difference between these two accounts, to sum it up, is basically what they can hold. An UGMA is very limited in what it can hold, and an UTMA allows a lot more variation. So besides that, though, they're very similar in structure. And they have their time and place. So again, talk to a financial advisor to see if it's the right account for you. Anything to add, Holly?
I think you knocked that one out of the park. I don't have anything to add on that.
You're too kind.
Okay, so another type of account is brokerage accounts. And again, I'm very transparent when I talk about my kids and how I invest in them. And quite honestly, for me, although I understand the purposes of UTMA and UGMA, I did not want to hand the money over to them when they turn of age. I want to retain my control because I'm that type of mom. So I ended up going to the brokerage account route. And so opening a brokerage account for a child can be a great way to introduce them to the world of investing and saving. And it comes with several different potential benefits. And here are some of the reasons why you might consider opening a brokerage account for your child. So one of them is financial education. Again, if you choose not to do a 529 or a Coverdale, you can just use a plain brokerage account. And it provides an opportunity to teach your child about investing, saving, and the concept of compound interest from a young age. It can help them to develop important financial skills that will serve them well in the future. These, again, we're talking financial education. One of the reasons why you may choose this, if you have a child that may or may not go to college. I look at my daughter who's 10, and I don't necessarily see college in her future because she has said from day one she's not going to college. So again, you might want to be putting money back, but not necessarily put it into a 529. It's also great for long-term savings. So by starting early, your child has the potential to build a significant nest egg over time. Again, I'm going to preach about the power of compound interest, and it means that even small contributions made early can grow substantially by the time that they reach adulthood. It provides them with investment experience. I sit my kids down and they have to go over stocks, and we talk about what stocks do well and what may even catch their interest. I have a daughter who's all in Apple right now. It gives your child an opportunity to gain practical experience with investing in stocks and bonds and mutual funds and other financial instruments. They can learn about different investment strategies and how the markets work. And I will also say that we've had clients come in with their children, and we talk to their children too, and they have input on how this is invested, and we try and teach them from your early age anything that they want to learn about these accounts. There's also potential tax benefits. So depending on the type of investments and the account structure, there might be tax advantages for your child, especially if they're in a lower tax bracket. This is something that's very important to consult with your tax accountant about. There's also future financial flexibility. So the assets in the brokerage account aren't restricted to specific uses, unlike the educational related accounts, or even the UTMAs and the UGMAs. So this means your child has more flexibility in how they use the funds when they reach adulthood. There's also the advantage of gifts and transfers. You can contribute to a brokerage account as gifts over time, helping your child build their investment portfolio. It's a way to pass on financial gifts while also promoting responsible financial behavior. However, with all the great benefits, there are things that need to be kept in mind with these type of accounts. Risk being probably the number one. Investing always carries risk, and the values of investments go up and down. It's important to educate your child about the potential risks involved in investing. And again, if this is something that you're using a financial advisor about, if it's something that you're using Elise and I to work with your child about, we also talk to them about the risks too. Supervision is definitely important. While it's beneficial for your child to have some control in managing their investments, providing guidance and oversight is still important, especially when they're younger. Legal age is something that we would have to have a conversation about, because in a lot of jurisdictions, if I can spit that out, a child has to be a certain age, which is normally like 18 to 21, to have full control over the brokerage account. So I'm one of those states that the legal age is important, and so I am on the account with my children, so they can still invest, but I'm able to control.
Totally. One thing you said that just made me think back to 529s, because like you were bringing up, sometimes you don't know if you want the money to be going to education because maybe that's not in your child's future. But I just wanted to reiterate that 529 plans within the educational realm are really flexible. So it's not always just paying for tuition. It can pay for student housing. It can pay for books. It can pay for tutoring. So within that educational realm, just don't feel limited, like it can only pay for the tuition check, because it can pay for a lot more. And I just wanted to throw that in because I didn't mention it earlier.
Awesome.
Alrighty, so what's next? what's next is setting up a discovery meeting with Holly or myself. Basically what that is, it's an hour meeting where we talk about everything under the sun financially. What's great about this is it's a no cost, no commitment meeting. It's basically a chance for us to look at what you're doing, what you want to do, and give you some advice. Whether you become a client or not, I highly recommend just doing this meeting because it's just a great way to gut check what you're doing. Whether you work with a financial advisor, sometimes it's great to get that second opinion, or you've been doing it yourself and you're like, am I doing it right? Do I need financial help? So I think either of those situations, always great to take up this meeting and just see where you're at and have a good check-in, because it's good to talk about your money and see what you're doing. Then moving forward, we set up the right account for your goals. So in terms of your kids, that might be a kid's higher education goal, helping kids save and buy their first home, teaching kids about investing, whatever it is. And then also what you need, what your accounts need to be doing for you, not just your kids. And then once you become a client, we stay in touch, probably too much. We like our clients a lot. So you hear from us at least quarterly, and then if there's any adjustments that need to be made, we're always reachable. And we usually do an annual meeting. And from there, depending on your needs, we'll meet more frequently or less frequently.
And we have not reiterated on this, but it's something that we've talked in like past webinars. A lot of people think that financial advisors are just strictly for the wealthy.
Yep.
And we are out there for the everyday people, especially with 529 plans. We understand that most of the people are going to be young couples coming in. And so don't feel like you have to meet with us when you have a lot of money. We are here to help set you up for the future.
Totally. Yeah. And, we're here to build with you along the way. So
absolutely,
there's no better time to start than today.
So now is the time to contact us, and we have all of our contact information, so there's no excuses anywhere from our—
Pull out your phone, take a picture.
Absolutely. So our email addresses are on there, websites, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. If you go onto our websites, it has our phone numbers. It even has our texting numbers. So you can text us too. We love to be able to be easy to access for questions. It's also, be sure to follow us on the social media links. We love to get to know you all. If you have questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to us, whether it's through social media or over email. We would love to talk to you further. While we are financial advisors, we would love to help you and would love to help you with financial investments. We're also here to be your cheerleader too. So we can help out however we can. Also, don't forget, this is a big plug for us, Elise. Don't forget that Elise and I pair up with our friend Larry, and we do a podcast series, and we're actually about to launch season 2 that I think has some wonderful speakers that are coming on. Season 1 is wrapped up, but be sure to go back and listen. And then we also do YouTube videos called Investing Advice Roundtable, and that has our past webinars that Elise and I have done, and then also videos that we have done with Larry too. And this just basically contains some great financial advice, tips, and tricks that are on there.
Awesome. Yes, we're all right. So this is our disclosure side that we have to throw in here because Holly and I are both fiduciaries, and our broker dealer is LPL Financial. So they hold us to the highest standard. And that's another plus with working with us. We're constantly being overseen by them and partnering with them. And they are just such a great company for independent advisors like us. So check your email. We will be sending out the recording of this to you. It'll also be on YouTube later this week. And I think we have one more webinar planned for this year, and it's a really fun topic. I'm very excited about the next one. So I hope you guys can be there for Q4. And if you have any specific topics you'd like to see in 2024, email us. We want to hear from you.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. Thank you, everybody. We're going to stop the recording and say goodbye.